When I met Kyo, I honestly thought the universe had finally stopped playing games with me. He looked like the human version of an emotionally stable man, the kind you hear about on relationship podcasts, where men swear they've discovered the secret to maturity. He spoke softly, smiled calmly, said he liked routine, dreamed of stability, and swore he wanted something solid. Today, thanks to the kind of clarity only disappointment gives, you couldn't pay me to believe that was maturity. It was emotional laziness in a very convincing costume. Back then, though, I thought it was cute, lovely, rare. The first months were intense just enough, calm just enough, charming just enough. Only later would I realize that everything about Kyo was just enough, almost like he had rehearsed every move in front of a mirror. I worked a lot, but I was happy. Project manager at a tech company responsible for deadlines, teams, budgets, results. I had earned my apartment with every drop of sweat my body could produce. It was my pride, my temple, my safe place. When Chio walked into that world, I thought I was sharing my life with someone who valued it, who understood the weight of my effort, who would walk beside me instead of using me as an emotional crutch. But you know how it is. Some people don't understand generosity. They confuse it with weakness. Verse confuse it with an invitation to get comfortable. When he asked to move in, I hesitated, not out of fear, but responsibility. I thought about everything, bills, space, routines. But in the end, I thought it would be beautiful to share life with someone I believed I had a future with. And so Kyo moved into my apartment. That's when the first crack, thin, almost invisible, appeared. The apartment that had always been my refuge began to carry a very specific kind of silence. The silence of someone hiding something. The first red flags were so small they felt like jokes. The kind you notice, laugh internally, and think, whatever. But the real joke is ignoring red flags. One day he came home tan. A tan that only comes from at least an hour in the sun. I, who know every ray of sunlight that enters through my windows, asked, "Wow, where'd you go?" And he answered without hesitation, "Oh, that's just reflection from the window." Reflection from the window. A tan. I didn't argue. I just thought, okay. Noted. And I mentally noted plenty of other little things, the way he started getting dressed up to run out quickly, the texts he answered with that half smile, his market runs that lasted 40 minutes and returned with 0 groceries. The new perfume, his, mine? Neither. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions, because when we love, or think we love, we work ridiculously hard not to see the obvious. Little did I know that the obvious was about to knock on my door, literally. When a man starts cheating, he also develops an incredible talent, the art of creating ridiculous excuses. Kyo turned into a motivational speaker of terrible lies. First came the morning runs. He woke up at 6, put on workout clothes, tied his sneakers, and left with the posture of an Olympic athlete. But he came back. No sweat, no messy hair, not even slightly out of breath. No "I'm turning my life around" glow, and certainly no improved cardio. But he did come back with a strange smile. The kind of smile that burns calories in other ways. Then came the quick lunches. My favorite lie, he left saying he was going to lunch. Came back 4 hours later. Hungry. I asked, "Didn't you go out to eat?" So, I lost track of time. Sure, he lost track of lunch. And apparently reality too. His phone became a black box. Password, fingerprint, face recognition, password inside password. Honestly, if Open by Iris Scan had been available, he would have activated that too. And of course the phone never left his side. He took it to the bathroom, to the shower. The toothbrush wasn't as loyal to him as that phone was. Suspicious outings increased. Market trips without markets. Mysterious meetings. Improvised excuses. What amazed me most was how convinced he was that I wasn't noticing. I work with risk analysis, pattern reading, forecasting failures. I spot a problem before it shows up. But he really believed he could hide an affair? Sometimes I even laughed. Nervous laughter, obviously, because deep down, I already knew. But I needed the truth to say, yes, it's exactly what you think. And the truth was coming. In a way no scriptwriter could have imagined. It was a Tuesday, which is exactly why I have never underestimated Tuesdays again. I was working from home, juggling reports and meetings, treating myself to coffee in my favorite mug. When the clock hit 2 in the afternoon, I took a break. Sat on the couch, stretched my legs, and let the silence of my home hug me. Then the doorbell rang. I thought, delivery. But when I opened the door, it was her, Kyo's mother. And not the ready-for-a-party version, the human version. Eyes swollen, hair tied carelessly, face exhausted, shoulders heavy. She walked in before I could say a single word. "I needed to see you," she said, voice trembling. Something was wrong. Very wrong. She had always been distant. Never called, never visited, never got involved. I found it strange, but never questioned it much. But that day, looking at her sinking into my couch, I understood. She had been carrying something heavy, and she couldn't carry it anymore. "Did something happen?" I asked. She took a deep breath, held my hands, and said, "Marina, I can't stay silent anymore." My heart froze. And then she said the sentence that ripped away every single thread of doubt I had left. "Keo is not being honest with you." And just like that, my life turned upside down. It took me a few seconds to process. His mother looked so nervous, so shaken, so burdened that it was impossible not to listen. "Marina, he's cheating on you," she completed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was said with the sadness of someone reliving her own pain. And then she told me everything. She told me she saw messages on his computer when she went to look for documents. She told me she saw conversations with his ex. She told me about the excuses, the meetings, the empty promises. She told me she confronted him and heard him say, "I'm confused, I need time," she cried while she spoke. But I didn't. What surprised me most was this. I went through this, Marina, with his father. I know the pain of not being warned. I don't want you to suffer what I suffered. Something shifted between us. The mother-in-law became a friend, a sister in pain, a protector. She didn't come to defend her son, she came to defend me. That is rare. So rare it still moves me today. At the end, she held my face and said, "You deserve more. You deserve to be loved fully." For the first time since all this began, I felt peace. Not because I learned the truth, but because she confirmed the truth wasn't my fault. I ended that day with one absolute certainty. I was going to free myself from that relation, but I would do it with elegance. After she left, I stayed alone in the living room. The silence felt different, not heavy, but clear. A silence that said, "Now you know, now you decide." And I decided. I decided I wouldn't spend another day living under the same roof as a lie. I decided I wouldn't be a spectator of my own life. I decided I wouldn't scream, beg, or ask for explanations. Wise women don't make scenes, they make choices. That night, while Chio was showering, I sat on the bed and started packing my suitcase, not to leave him, but to find myself somewhere far away from him. The blue suitcase we bought for our trips together. I began placing clothes, dresses, perfumes, notebooks. I knew the trip to Paris, scheduled for a few days later, would no longer be ours. It would be mine, only mine. That suitcase was the symbol of my rebirth. When he left the bathroom, he saw the suitcase on the bed. "Are you traveling?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "I am," I answered. He smiled, thinking I was preparing for our trip. And in that smile I saw it. He still thought he had time. He still thought I didn't know. He still thought I wasn't capable. Little did he know. The next morning he would meet the woman I had always been, the one he never saw. I woke up early, made coffee, sat on the sofa, waited for him. When he entered the room, I simply said, "Sit, we need to talk." His face changed instantly. He sat slowly, like someone feeling life slipping through his fingers. "Keo, I know everything." His eyes widened. "About your ex. The messages, the meetings, the excuses, everything." He started mumbling, but I lifted my hand. "I don't want explanations. I just want you to listen." I grabbed the documents on the table. "This apartment is mine, built with my effort, and you have 30 days to move out." He froze, took a breath, looked around as if searching for a physical escape for an emotional disaster. Then he saw the suitcase, the blue one. Are you leaving today?" he asked, panic rising. "I'm not leaving my home. I'm going to Paris, alone. The trip that was supposed to be ours is now mine." He went pale. "But that's our trip. There's no us, Keo." I picked up the handle of the suitcase. "I'll be back before the 30 days are up. When I return, I want everything arranged." And I walked out. He just watched, unable to react as the door closed. In the elevator, I took a deep breath and smiled. I wasn't leaving because of him, I was leaving for me. That day marked the beginning of the most beautiful part of the story, my life without him. Paris welcomed me as if it knew exactly who I was, as if it understood I was being reborn, as if it whispered, "Welcome back to yourself." I explained at the hotel that my companion wouldn't be joining me. The receptionist, Julian, a kind Frenchman, smiled and said, "Then, mademoiselle, you deserve an even better stay." And I received An upgrade with a view of the Eiffel Tower, special breakfast, dinner vouchers, a free spa, 2 extra complimentary days, champagne with a card saying, "To new beginnings." I walked through the streets, recovering pieces of myself I didn't know I had lost. I ate croissants like they were medals, sat by the Seine, found a new version of myself at every corner. While I transformed in Paris, Keo was packing his shame back in Brazil. When I returned, light, renewed, whole, there were only a few days left before he had to leave. Kai had talking, but I had nothing left to hear. His mother visited me again, brought flowers, hugged me tight. "You did what I never had the courage to do," she cried. I held her. On the final day, Keo left quietly. No speech, no drama, no last attempt to convince me. He knew he had lost, and I knew I had found myself again. When he left, I stepped into the apartment and felt something I hadn't felt in ages. Lightness. My home felt bigger, brighter, mine again. I decided to start over inside my own sacred place. Painted walls, changed furniture, new curtains, added plants, perfumed everything with vanilla and bergamot. Each change was a piece of me falling back into place. My mother, in-law now officially a friend, helped me. We laughed, talked. She shared stories she'd never told anyone. One day she said, "You are the best thing my son lost," and I smiled, because it was true. I was reborn. I went back to studying, got a promotion, traveled again, met new people, rediscovered my worth, and I understood a great truth. Some men don't lose the woman of their life. They lose the chance to become better men. I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of being with someone who reduced me. Today my home is a temple of peace, and my life belongs to me again. Some doors we close not out of anger but out of self-love. 3 months later, I was no longer anything like the woman who once lived on the edge of emotional exhaustion. I had become a newer version of myself, whole, aware, alive. The house, once full of strange silences, looked completely renewed. Fresh colors on the walls, brighter light. Even my footsteps sounded different. It was as if my apartment, my trophy, my temple said, "Finally just the two of us again." My mother-in-law, a full-on friend by now. An unexpected friendship born from old pain and new freedom. At least once a week she stopped by with fresh flowers, homemade cake, or simply the desire to talk. And she always said, "Marina, you reminded me who I could have been if I'd had courage back then." I never knew how to answer. I just smiled softly, because I understood. I understood the devastation of realizing you lived less than you deserved. And I also understood that somehow my rebirth was hers too. And then life started giving back almost comically fast. First came an opportunity at work, then another. Suddenly I was leading a huge project, being praised by directors, receiving invitations from international teams. I'd always known I was competent, but now I was blooming. Women bloom better after leaving places where they were kept small. One afternoon while visiting me, she asked, "Have you thought about dating again?" I laughed. "No, right now I'm dating my Pete." She laughed too, but her eyes said something else. Her eyes said the universe had plans I couldn't yet see, and it did. One Saturday I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. Go to a nearby park. I always said I was too tired, too busy. The truth? I had lived in an emotional cage so subtle even joy had shrunk. But that day I went. I grabbed a book, wore a comfortable dress, and let the sun kiss my face. I walked across soft grass, listened to kids laughing, smelled food, life, movement. And then a huge dog came running toward me, one of those chaotic, lovable types, and nearly stole my book. I jumped back and started laughing. Right behind him came a man, tall, warm smile, slightly clumsy, completely out of breath. "I'm so sorry," he said, grabbing the dog's leash. "He thinks everyone in the park is his friend." I laughed. "It's okay. He just tried to steal my book. Maybe he wants to learn something." The man smiled, and that smile held a kind of lightness I hadn't felt in ages. A conversation with no tension, no fear, no calculating each word, just natural. "I'm Raphael," he said, "and this book thief here is Thor." "Marina," I answered, "survivor of literature theft." He laughed so genuinely I couldn't help laughing too. We talked for minutes that felt like hours. Books, travel, dogs, Paris, which he surprisingly knew very well. He asked, "Did you travel alone?" "Yes," I replied proudly. "And it was one of the best experiences of my life." He smiled like someone who recognizes someone else's courage. I admire women who do that. It's freeing. And something in me opened, a door I didn't even know was locked. Life is funny like that. When you finally choose yourself, the universe brings people who recognize your worth, not because they save you, but because they walk at your pace. We talked a while longer until he had to leave. Before he left, he said gently, "I hope I see you here again, Marina." Just a sentence. Simple, casual, but it opened a smile inside me I wasn't expecting. Not because I was in love, far from it, but because I realized I was ready. Ready to meet new people. Ready for new stories. Ready to let life surprise me the right way. That night before bed, I got a message from Chio's mother. When we close the right door, God opens the right window. And sometimes a whole new door, just so you can walk through shining. I read it and felt warmth in my chest. I had spent months thinking I had lost something, but in reality I had gained everything. My peace, my freedom, my self-esteem, my identity, my home back Paris. A new friendship, new possibilities in that night. Smiling genuinely for the first time in a long time, I understood the greatest truth. Life always gives back what we lose out of self-love, and it returns multiplied. I didn't know if I'd see Raphael again. I didn't know if another love story would appear. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I knew the future was finally mine. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Stories We Tell, leave a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps us keep creating stories about love, forgiveness, and second chances, because stories that touch the heart deserve to be told and remembered. Thank you for being here.